everybody. Hey, welcome to a new episode of Fake Nerds Watch, where we're keeping up with the new HBO series Lovecraft Country. I'm Sparkz Whitey. I am joined by Ryan Eliopoulos.
It's me. I'm here.
And our good friend Brandon McClure, virtually across the internet, across the way. We are here to talk about episode 2, Whitey on the Moon. And let me tell you guys, what an incredible season finale this episode was. It was stunning. It was shocking.
It was emotional.
It had emotions.
Yeah.
Everything reached culminational points. This was episode 2, and I feel like I've watched an entire season.
No joke. That's I didn't expect, because I'm not going to read the book anymore, because that was my mistake, because I thought it would have been cool to know what's coming ahead. But like, that's not fun. That's not fun. Like, if I know what's happening, I'm not going to be surprised. So I didn't read anymore.
I know nothing about what I'm about to say, but I have genuinely wondered. I'm like, did we just see the end of the book?
No.
Okay.
No. It's the book goes fast. That's why I was curious.
Okay.
That's why I was saying I don't know how they're going to do this entire book, and like, if they're it looks like they're doing it in one season. Yeah, they're doing it. They're doing it in one season.
I'm sure they're gonna go beyond the
yes,
world of it,
but like,
sure. But yes,
yeah,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, man, this episode really did feel like a big finale, because you have like crazy things happening, character deaths, like character motivations are revealed. Like, you learn so much stuff, but it's the second episode. Like,
but here, so interesting. What's so interesting about me about watching this episode was that I was watching it. I was sitting there. I was like, okay, we're getting some answers. That's good, but the entire setup of the first episode is concluded at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Right.
It almost, and I don't know if you watched
it full circled.
I don't know if you watched the preview for next episode, Brandon. Did you watch this one? Okay. It almost feels like this is like an arc in the book.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like there's going to be arcs of the story. Like, it's like almost like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You know what I mean?
So I did look it up.
Yeah.
So I did look it up. The book is 8 like short stories almost.
Yes. The first chapter is the longest one. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like different stories that all kind of interconnect. And watching the second episode, that kind of like clicked for me. I was like, oh, okay. So like every 2 episodes is going to be an arc of that book.
What's that that independent comic that we like? That's just like about the pets, or it's just like a different story every time.
Beast of Burden.
Yeah, or any other comic book anthology where like it's set in the world, but like I thought this was gonna be like, you know, like we're a whole season worth of show, but like no, it's like a universe show where like it's gonna be an anthology almost with the same characters.
Because like anybody who would have come to that book and said we're gonna make this a movie, the correct way to do it would have been these first 2 episodes would have just been a film.
Yes, there would have been like multiple movies.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we were all almost taken aback, not in a bad way, but it's like, man, this show's going. Like, I thought the first episode went hard. We went to like the Gardens of Eden, like opening parallel worlds, like in the second episode, like
Jamie Chung. So I don't know if you guys watch the subtitle. If you guys have it on subtitles.
Oh no!
So when Jamie Chung is there, because hey, I called it. Jamie Chung.
I think we all did.
I think we were all on a
nobody...
similar stance where we're like, so Jamie Chung's
in it,
gonna come back around.
Yeah,
and she's the girl on the phone, and but when she yells, the subtitles say yelling in the language of Adam.
Oh,
and I was weird. Like, that's very strange. So then when they're all chanting, the subtitles say chanting in the language of Adam.
Okay, so like old school, like Cthulhu language.
That's super specific.
That is very cool. That's cool that's only a touch that a subtitle would give you. Yeah. Because like, I guess the action is, I assume she was speaking Korean, but you don't really hear it. I guess you don't really hear it's like very muted. That's a cool little touch. All right, I like it.
Yeah, I saw it, I was like, that's weird. That's a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely want us to talk about the Jamie Chung stuff when we get there.
Yeah. Because
we're gonna go through the episode.
Welcome to the manor.
What a great opening. Just a beautiful.
Not how I thought this episode would open.
No, not at all. A beautiful morning for both George and Letty. Not a care in the world.
Dude,
everything's wonderful.
It's like, man,
everything's sunshine.
George wakes up and he's in a room that has all of his favorite books. That's wow, what a great place, right? Letty opens up a closet and it's every beautiful dress she's ever wanted to wear and it all fits her. Wow, that's crazy coincidence. there's some heinous shit going on in this house that looks like it's happiness, and that's Emma. We're gonna open up that door for Emma real quick, but this episode was so different than that first episode because the first episode's about learning the characters. They're traveling to a bunch of different places. This all takes place in the manor in this episode. And I'm like, no, you can do a lot by still being trapped in a house, especially when the characters are trapped in the house. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
that was a really a fun opening.
Yeah,
we get William, who's the creepy white dude
who teleports,
who continues being creepy.
Straight up teleports behind people like Batman. He just shows up and everyone's like, Willie, what are you doing here?
Just kind of being like, yeah, this is the mansion, this is the history. What's wrong?
Yeah, what's wrong?
Atticus, why are you freaking out?
I did really enjoy the bit where it's like, oh, so you're just like the clan. I was like, we would never align ourselves with such poor people.
Yeah, that's the line, because it's not their character, it's how wealthy they are. That's very important.
Let's be clear that Christina's the one that says that, and she says like they would never align themselves with that. They're too poor. She talks about them as other. Yes, I just want to point that out.
Yeah,
Christina doesn't fully consider herself one of them.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's a good touch.
Which is something that we're gonna have to get into.
Yeah.
Letty takes to being pampered on very quickly in the beginning.
Oh my god, yeah.
This goes back to the conversation we were having at the beginning where like Letty has a different idea of how she can operate in the wider world than other Black people.
Yes.
Which is something that is alluded to in the first episode and certainly comes around in that.
I know
moment.
Atticus is still freaking out. But like,
he's the only one who remembers.
He's the only one who didn't get Men in Black, who didn't get deneuralized or whatever. But like, yeah, no one remembers what's going on. It's because of the dog whistle, I assume, right? Whatever that dog whistle happens, it makes their memories go away, but not Atticus because he's got the good genes.
We know for a fact that it is a spell.
It's a
some
spell.
sort of spell.
That's said later.
Yeah, Atticus is just like, you're a wizard, spells. It's a spell. I'm like, they're just going for it. They're just, again, like this show goes so hard. Like it's not shying away from the weirdness. It's hard, it's going into it.
One of the things I really appreciated was that Letty and Uncle George don't discredit him right away. They're like, okay, so we don't remember what happened last night. You say monsters. Let's figure out what's going on.
They recognize that they don't remember what happened, and what he's saying sounds crazy, but they don't remember what happened.
Yeah.
So
also they're in this crazy giant house filled with a bunch of white people. So like the whole situation's weird. On top of people having amnesia. So Atticus, I understand his trepidation, but Letty's enjoying it. She's ringing bells, getting salt over
and even George like being comfortable with what's going on and not remembering the night before as Atticus is freaking out is like, yo, calm down, the white people are watching.
Yeah, we're being watched. Yeah.
So they want to head down to the village, which is where Letty brings up the
real
concept.
quick, white people don't season their food. It's true. It's true. White people season your food.
I refuse.
Unless your dad's Italian?
Yeah. Okay, I tell you. So they head down into the village, during which time Letty proposes that the reason that Atticus is saying these things is because he's potentially carrying over things from the war.
Yes. His PTSD, his trauma.
Shell shock.
Plus like his obsession with science fiction. Like she thinks combining those things is like, he's going through some shit.
And they have grounds for this because he explained the problem with the car, and the car's totally fine.
Yes.
Other than the back window being shot out.
Yeah.
So everything that happened to it last night seems like it didn't happen to the car. But what happened in them racing away from the racist, that did happen to the car.
Yes.
Just not the incidents from last night.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get...
Which is an interesting, like, specific touch. Like, they can only change things about the car related to their incident. They can't like magically fix the back window when it happened beforehand.
It's maybe because like the magic is directly related to their like only their stuff.
Their area. I'm like that's a specific touch. It's not like the car is completely fine.
Yeah. That is super cool. Yeah, like they can only fix things that they were directly involved with. That's a good little touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they fix it again later in the episode.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then Atticus comes back on her in a really good moment, which I liked, where he's just standing right there. He's like, it's not shell shock. It's not what it is. And they go into the village, and the village is full of racism. Just hard on the nose
also
racism.
Some interesting, I noticed some interesting uses of red, because the town's very muted, but there's lots of red going on. The kids are wrapping red around some type of pyre or some type of like figment There's red flowers everywhere. People are wearing red clothing, but like it's very
that's a really good point. That's a really good point because when like later in the episode, not to jump ahead, but like when you go under the tower, it's very warm.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very warm outside, whereas everything else is very dark and very muted.
Yeah. It's just something. Specifically with the kids with the red running, I'm like, that means something. That very clearly means something. We'll find out in like 5 episodes, something.
Or we'll find out next episode.
Or next episode, yeah.
Who knows?
In the next season finale.
Yeah,
So what they immediately, the conclusion that George and Atticus come to, because Atticus is led to the stone building,
right?
Because he hears the dog whistle, which is actually a dog whistle this time, with the racist lady. But George immediately like sizes up the building and assumes if Montrose is in prison somewhere, he's in prison here.
Yes. William said. Was it William or Sam? Somebody said that Montrose was doing like a mission for them. Like he's like there's a
that was William.
That was William. Okay, yeah. They're like there's no apparently like no ill will. Like Montrose is doing something for them. Clearly that's not true, as we find out. That dude's captured.
Right.
But
yeah, man.
They're always told, be back before dinner. You can do whatever you want. Just be back before dinner.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I've seen those guard dogs. I don't blame them.
And somehow that day goes by real fast, and they're walking back through the woods, almost like it's not real.
Yeah.
Because like that day went by real quick. The village is right there.
Yeah.
And that's the moment where George, so when they leave the village and it's becoming dusk, George remembers the story of what's the mom's name?
Dora.
Her ancestor burned down a mansion.
Hannah.
Hannah.
The mansion was burning. She ran out into the woods pregnant.
Yep. And so you kind of quickly piece the two together, like, oh, that's what this is.
Which is a unique thing that, like, why did George specifically remember that right this moment is certainly like an interesting little thing.
Especially with what was revealed later.
Yes.
About like his desires or something that like some revelations.
We'll get there. We'll get there for sure. That was an interesting moment. They get nearly attacked by the Shoggoths again, but Christina shows up with the real whistle.
Yeah,
and that's when we learn that immediately after they disappear, Letty and George are like, "Why are we dirty?"
Yeah, again, it's immediate. Like, wait, something's wrong here, and like, it happened again. Oh no!
But again, that's one of my favorite things where it's just like, okay, so maybe Atticus isn't crazy.
Oh yeah, because that is a fun thing where like. Clearly, like crazy shit's happening, but maybe some of it is a little crazier than it seems. With Atticus and his PTSD and his imagination, but like after a while, you're like, nah, shit's weird. We're in Lovecraft Country. Yeah, that's real.
Right.
And then,
so they end up
when she reveals when she's like, okay, they can remember again, and they're like, ah!
Yeah, they start screaming.
Yes. So they end up back in the mansion.
When do we see the baby Shoggoth?
Oh, in a bit.
Okay.
We end up back in the mansion, and George pulls out a book and reveals...
They're all in their different rooms. They're all in their different rooms again.
Yes. Letty and George are in their rooms, and Atticus is walking through a hall towards Samuel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in the meantime, George stumbles into a library that opens very specifically by him pulling out a specific book.
Like a bat cave.
And quite a library. This mansion's dope.
Yeah.
And he happens to find the book about the Order of the Ancient Dawn.
Yeah, coincidentally,
find it.
Just happens to be out.
Megan is the person who suggested it, and I think she's right. I think William left it there.
Yep.
Given William's reactions to the way that George and Atticus use the information from that book in the later meeting,
yes,
it would look like William and Christina may be aiding these three in a pretty prominent way.
Yeah, like they're a part of this group somehow, but maybe their allegiances aren't towards the evil.
Oh wait, we forget to mention that a little earlier. We did find out that the mansion they're in is a replika of the original.
Right. Yes.
Because the original burned.
Yes. I watched a video today and I learned that Braithwaite. That's the name. Braithwaite. That is an old English name for betrayer.
Cool.
So yeah, that's some dark shit happening. Yeah, again, this episode 2 going straight to like, yeah, we did this ritual and the ritual failed and we were trying to open up the Garden of Eden and the whole place burned down and we all died. Yeah. And it's like, oh, this is an overload. I love it.
You're right though, because in those details of like this is a replica, it's also mentioned, Mr. Braithwaite was always really kind to his slaves, and kind to his slaves means he was banging them.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what would lead down the family tree to Atticus.
That's a Thomas Jefferson right there.
So then we meet Samuel, getting part of his liver.
Yo, man, that dude wants to be God, like, or wants to be so important. He like, oh my god,
he wants to be Adam.
He doesn't believe he's God. He believes he is Adam.
Sorry, yes,
in the parable.
Yes. He's so self-serious and like so full of it. Like, I am so destined to be dope.
So much was happening in this episode that I was for a moment like, could he be Adam? Like, is he just Adam who's immortal? But then I was like, oh no, wait, he's the descendant of the Braithwaite name.
Yeah. So I'm maybe just because I turned to him and I went, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Is Adam going to be like an alien? Is the original Adam like Cthulhu
I don't think
stuff?
he's an alien.
Okay.
I don't think he's an alien. I think this is still
before. Just when we're talking about Sam stuff, like he talked about the Garden of Eden. I didn't actually expect a garden. I was expecting Lovecraft shit, but there was a real garden. So I'm like, oh, I don't know what this show is anymore. Actually,
sure.
Did you guys watch Good Omens this year or last year?
No.
I recommend it. One of the early episodes, they go to the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
So when I was watching this, I was like, wait a second, is this more Good Omens than it is HP Lovecraft? What's happening?
Is it more like actually biblical than Lovecraft? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I will conjecture here that I mean we see plants come from the portal, but I don't know that necessarily means that it's the Garden of Eden.
Yes.
As Samuel Braithwaite believes in it, and as like biblical references would allude to.
Yeah.
They're very much running off of belief, which I would assume that the story is going to push against that. They were pushed out of Eden because of women's incompetence and forced to live among the Negroes.
Yeah. God,
as they would put it, which is really gross and terrible. But that's the functional belief system, is they need to get back into paradise.
Yes.
And
Sam,
but I don't think
the way.
But I don't think that it is what they think it is.
Yes. Because I was ready for some like tentacles to be like. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because when we open the portal, the only thing we see is his ancestor Hannah.
We see the plants forming around, which like it proposes the idea of the Garden of Eden. But yeah, what we see is there's a lot happening there, and we'll get to that for sure. But in this first scene where we meet Samuel, we learn that he's a huge asshole, and this actor's doing a great job because he seems as dead inside as possible.
Yeah.
And we also learn that Christina doesn't believe in the things he believes in.
Yeah,
that's pretty obvious.
Is she? Is it ever said that she's his daughter? Is that the implication? Because that's what
we're led to assume. We're led to assume.
Yeah. Because like William's kind of seems a little separate, where she is kind of like she talks to him a lot. So I feel like there's a familiar thing going on, but that just could be because they're white people with white hair.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she says father at one point.
I just don't remember.
I'm pretty sure
you're right. She says take him to my father's lab.
Right. Okay. There you go. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I was like, I don't think we're making that up out of nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I make shit up all the time.
So Christina takes him out, and Samuel's very cavalier with the way he addresses Atticus and the way that he doesn't, where he says, take him away. I don't want to see him till the ritual.
Yeah.
So Christina takes him to a room, and during that time, Christina speaks of being friendly, wants to be friends in a sense with Atticus. And Atticus is obviously super distrusting. This is where the stuff we were referencing earlier about the KKK comes up, where he acknowledges that she's a wizard, which is part of his accusation is very good, where he's like, it's not just a title of Grand Wizards anymore. You're actually freaking wizards now. And it's like, we are not the KKK. And so he says, you want to be a friend, remove the spell. And that's when George and Letty immediately begin screaming because everything comes back to them.
What a funny and yet horrifying moment.
Yeah, it is.
It's totally perfect.
Yeah.
And in that same moment, Atticus tries to leave the room to go to them, but he is shut in with an invisible barrier and then literally shut in with the door.
Yeah.
Yes.
Double shut.
And that leaves them. Christina takes off in that moment because someone comes and says, "Christina, it's happening.
It's time."
And so Christina takes off and goes to help a cow give birth.
And I immediately knew.
Oh, yeah. I think like there's a certain sound point where like the cow makes a really weird sound. And you're like, oh, this ain't normal.
Yeah, that's no cow.
If you thought it was normal, it's not normal. And and we call. Yeah,
we were watching this morning. And we had I was like, that's a weird looking cow. I was like, that's not a cow.
Oh, honey, you gotta look at the TV.
That is a baby Shogun.
That is a cute baby Cthulhu monster.
Yeah.
Oh, its little eyes are plush jalating. Oh, it's so cute. Never seen a Lovecraft monster, baby. So like, it's cool first time. I appreciate
Never
it.
seen a cow give birth. I'll be honest.
Which leads me to believe Christina has a better idea of what the Order of the Ancient Dawn thinks they're messing with than they do.
Yeah.
Because she seems to have a deeper connection to these creatures.
Yes.
Probably a deeper understanding of what's actually on the other side of things like the portal.
Yeah.
Because I'm willing to bet both Christina and William were not in the mansion when the mansion came down because they knew.
I agree. I believe that.
I'd bet my bottom dollar about it.
Yeah.
Are all those people super old? Are they so? I mean, like, sorry, I don't mean old as in they're elderly, but are they all like older than they're supposed to be? Are they all like hundreds of years old? Do you think?
No, I don't think they've got some kind of.
Okay, so Sam, even though he had a liver removed, he's a regular dude.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't 100% sure because I saw that dude get an organ removed and start walking immediately. So I'm like, that guy's not Batman. So is he supernatural?
He does kind of like when he's talking in the dinner when everyone leaves. He does kind of like hold his side where the pain is, like that implying that it still hurts.
That just seems like a surgery that you can walk up 10 seconds after. But like, it's fiction, whatever.
Yeah. So we get to the room where Letty's shut in, and in that room is a really poignant painting of Adam and Eve where Adam has a snake dick.
Oh!
And
you guys.
And then Atticus comes in, but Atticus doesn't come in because we know Atticus is shut in his room.
Yeah.
And Letty has this super emotional moment where she's talking about her mom issues and her fears of abandonment and why she was saying the psalm when she was trying to be brave the night before.
Yeah. And
that leads to them making out hardcore.
Again, man, like combining tone, because like we know that's not Atticus, but this is a serious moment for her. Yeah. She's feeling it. That whatever that thing is feeling it. Like, Letty, I will never abandon you. She's about like, oh, I'm about to pounce on you, Atticus.
In the official Lovecraft Country radio podcast for this episode, they talk about that being a direct metaphor of the invasion of the white gaze, because we ultimately learn that all of them are being watched by the lodge members, their private moments fully exposed, their traumas turn to entertainment for white people.
Yes, because that's exactly, they're all watching like voyeurs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And laughing.
And laughing about it, yeah. Yeah, man. So Letty unfortunately gets assaulted by Atticus.
So quickly.
By the snake that's attached to Atticus.
Yes.
I knew the moment I saw that painting, I knew exactly what was going to happen. Because I know how storytelling and foreshadowing works.
Yeah.
So I was like,
check out gun.
Shit. And then when Atticus starts to remove his pants, I'm like, nope.
Dude, when he's just like standing over her with like his hands on his belt, I'm like, oh, that's not it. Oh,
and then you see something move. You see something move under the zipper, and then just oh my god, you guys, the noise I made was not human.
Brandon doesn't like snakes, so that's doubly scary.
Even as knowing it was coming.
Yeah,
that might have been the most terrifying thing I have seen in a television show this year.
I believe it. Yeah. Sure. So Letty's going through that trauma.
Meanwhile, Atticus is in his room, trying to listen in to what is happening in George's room. Mm-hmm. But a character pops out of the closet.
He Morse codes wizard.
But a character pops out of the closet in his room, and it's Jamie Chung.
Yep.
In
military guard.
Yeah,
Korean military guard. Yeah.
And he refers to her by name.
Yes.
Which does establish that whoever she is someone he knows from the war.
Yeah, it makes me think like they
on
had
a personal level.
They had some type of relationship, and then like the war got in the way or something. Like the war actually made them like fight each other.
Well, and as Brandon alluded to earlier, which I was curious about, I do now really think Well, no, I was going to say, I do now really think, I don't think she's dead, because I do believe that is Jamie Chung's voice we heard on the phone.
Yeah.
I don't know who else it would be at this moment.
That's so crazy.
Yes.
Well, how would she, why would she be involved?
I think what could have happened is, however she is involved, they met in the war. And then, remember, he stayed after the war. He stayed for a while.
Right.
He didn't come home right away. So I think he and her had a relationship after the war. And then he came home, and that's where the phone call comes from.
Right, he's back because of the letter.
Yeah. Because his dad. I'm just curious why, like, that's like whatever this is, like, you know, like a fantasy, a drama of like reliving your darkest desires or whatever it is. Like, they end up fighting, and he kills her, and I'm like, what does that mean for who their relationship in real life? Like, that can't be good. Like, it's gonna be sad, more sadness coming. I bet, just lots of sadness.
Yeah. I really want to know how she plays into the story.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that. I mean, she's some complex part of his life, because she appears as part of the fantasy vision of the woman who comforts him, but in that same moment in the dream, she also says suffer. And now she's here. Both him trying to console with her and then ultimately killing her.
Remind me.
Which I again, like, I don't believe she's dead, but I do believe that is more just representative of trauma of killing others in the war.
Does he fight Deja Thoris in the opening scene? Does he kill her in that too?
No, he protects her.
She just turns him around, holding him, and says suffer,
that's right.
up to the monster before Jackie Robinson appears.
Yeah. Jackie Robinson fights Cthulhu, yeah.
I think that's really telling, the idea that whatever happened in Korea during that war was not just a normal war. He saw something that was related to this story, and she was involved in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because I would also, posit that I do not believe that Jamie Chung fought in the war. I believe she's a woman he met while he was there.
Yeah.
But she ends up being dressed in this military garb because it's the two things kind of being combined like in a dream.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily representative of like who she is to him.
Yeah.
But that's traumatizing for him, obviously. Meanwhile, Georgie boy, he got some explaining to do. Sees Dora, Atticus's mom.
Yeah.
And it's
intimate,
and it's certainly revealing of like a long history of him and Montrose and her all being young together.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Earlier in the episode, when he tells the story of Hannah running away, she never told that to Montrose.
Right.
So you get the sense that, because Atticus says, "Why would she tell you and not my dad?"
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So there's something else there.
Yes, because we find out later also. Oops.
Yes. Well, because at the moment when this was happening, I was like, George. My assumption was George used to love Dora, and then she ended up with Montrose.
Yeah.
I did not jump to Atticus as George's son.
Yes, I also did not. I was under the assumption maybe like...
Which actually, here's the thing. I don't think anybody knows.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
It seems that nobody knows, and they just had to make a decision about who it was.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Montrose says. We decided we'd never talk about it.
Yes, we settled it, and George says, I know, because he might not be
yours.
Yes. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. But this is a different time period. There's not the immediate birth testing available, especially not for Black people.
Yeah.
That would be very hard for them to get access to, even if it were widely available. So there's no way for them to know for sure. That is a wrinkle.
Yeah.
We'll unpack that a little later in the episode, but for now, it's this intimate moment between George and Dora, which reminded me a lot of the intimate moment between George and his wife on the phone, which now, knowing how this episode ends, I go back to, I do think that was him coding, I don't know that I'm going to come back alive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that ending. Oh my gosh. So who is it that gets them out? How do they get out of it?
They're just released.
Okay.
That's the thing.
Right.
Like they live through the trauma in one way or another.
Yeah.
Which it concludes for Letty with the snake appearing, which they laugh at and enjoy. It concludes for Atticus at the killing of Jamie Chung, and it concludes for George in the sense that George accepts that this is fiction very quickly.
Yeah.
He knows this isn't real.
Man,
but he's okay with languishing in this moment, which is another hint to me that George kind of suspects his impending death.
Yeah.
From this situation, which is all the more reason why I look back to that Hippolyta scene.
Yeah. Courtney B. Vance, who plays George, like he has such like a I don't even know how to describe it, like a real passion. Like I like that dude. Like I know he's acting, but like I feel
warmth.
A warmth. Thank you. I feel the love. Like when he's with sorry, what's the mom's name again?
Dora.
When he's with Dora, like that just feels so real. And that dude is such a good actor, and like he portrays love so realistically. It's crazy, which makes the end even more sad.
He is my favorite character on the show.
Yeah,
makes the ending even more sad.
Yeah.
Right, which is what they want you to feel.
Yeah.
I agree entirely that he portrays that emotion in a way where you're really able to connect with it. I felt that in the first episode with the way he would talk to Hippolyta, or even to Letty and Atticus whenever they were in a moment after they dealt with something scary.
Yeah.
Or in the moment that's right after this Dora moment where he's trying to build them back up and he's holding them and he's saying, you guys, you're going to be fine. Don't let them pull you.
We all just went
down.
through shit. Don't let them win. Yeah.
Now, I didn't even think about it, but in the official podcast, they talk about, while it's really, the writer said, I didn't even see this until I watched this premiere. But there's something also innately, like it's understandable, like George is trying to protect Atticus, but Atticus almost tells George about something that happened to him in the war because of what he saw in there. And in a way, George shuts it down, ultimately suppressing him, getting out that trauma, ultimately driving that away, pushing it away, which is part of what George has been known to do.
And that's what he says.
It's like, as great as that moment is, as nice as it is that he's trying to protect them, he's trying to build them up, he is also ultimately suppressing what's supposed to be a pivotal moment for Atticus.
Yeah.
To probably for the first time talk about something that happened in the war.
Yeah. I guess I understand maybe now is not the time to do it.
No,
I get it.
For sure. Like, and they were acknowledging it on the podcast too, but it's like, man, that layer is also there.
Yeah.
That like Atticus is probably for the first time talking about it, and also not heard.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal too.
Yeah.
I think.
That's a big deal, yeah.
Which I thought was a really good point. And so from there,
it's black tie dinner.
They are taking the black tie dinner, which is black tie only and men only.
Yep.
Sorry, Letty. That sucks.
Yeah.
But the veranda is nice this time of night.
Yes.
Yeah. I really love not long into that dinner, they have their little opening moment, and then George just takes control of that whole thing, and he says, I found a book about your bylaws.
Well, one of the things I really like about it is when he hands him, like, and now I give a part of myself to you, and yes. George like, what? And no.
George leans forward and he's like, don't eat that. No, don't eat that. Don't do it. Yeah.
He's so chill about all of it. I love it.
Yes, he is very convinced he is a type of Adam.
Yeah.
Samuel is.
Yes.
And George takes control of it, and he explains that no matter what, there is a son among sons if you are of the true bloodline of Titus, the original.
Braithwaite?
Braithwaite. And that would be Atticus. So whatever he says goes.
So Sam and Atticus are related, which is funny. But yeah, I just...
Because everyone else, all the other lodge members are considered son of sons.
Yeah.
But Atticus is a son among sons. So he doesn't have command over Samuel, but he does have command over every single other man in that room.
He's not the president, but he's the vice president. Right. And all of them are just Congress.
Yeah. So Atticus is like, I want all y'all to get the F out.
And then that's where I think it was Megan who picked up on William.
William is standing in the corner, kind of smiling, kind of proud. Yeah. And that's where Megan suggested that William left the book for George. I
could totally buy
that. He's either doing that to help Atticus in the group, or he's doing it to just stir shit so he can come up top. I don't think we know enough about him yet.
Again, like, I don't even know that it's an up top thing. I think Christina and William both know better about what this is.
Is this a Hux situation?
Than the others do.
We're like, I don't need him to win, or I don't want you to win. They just need to lose?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So they're the Huxes.
I
dig it.
I won't say like they're 100% good on the side of Atticus and them, but they also are 100% against what Samuel and and his order is doing.
The Order of New Dawn?
The Ancient Order of the Dawn.
Yeah. Silly, great old name. I love it.
Yeah, there's definitely like William is sly to something for sure.
Samuel talks to Atticus about the genes and like, you know, you are like me, but you know, a little different, a little tainted.
And I think
I'm like,
and see, I think this is the key, is that Samuel, I think, has interpreted the belief system of whatever their order is to his own means, because what he explains to Atticus is that I only believe in this so far as they need to believe in it. So
he's an evangelical,
so that he can control them.
Yeah.
But he doesn't follow the word, so Atticus doesn't hold shit to him.
Yeah.
He just needs him and considers him ultimately disposable, which is also a metaphor for the use of how they consider black bodies and everything.
Yes.
But that would further lead to me that like he doesn't really believe what's in the book, and I think William and Christina do know better of what's in there, much better than he does.
That seems to make sense. That. Like they're kind of just like letting them like do your thing, and you'll eventually figure out you're all wrong about this.
Right?
Yeah. I buy that. 100%.
You know what could be interesting is if whoever Braithwaite's name was in the beginning, if he tried to do the same thing, Titus, right? He tried to open up the portal to Eden, and he let loose the Lovecraftian monsters that are around the world.
Yeah,
right.
But it's his fault.
Yeah, but I think we're under the impression that the portal did not open all the way. So like the Shoggoths are a different thing from the portal.
I think we can be under that impression, but how much of that impression do we want to believe?
I just don't know. I don't think we have enough information for any of this yet.
Right.
That's true.
Agree.
This is just wild speculation on my part.
Oh, no, of course.
Could that be?
But like I think like we saw like that the previous ritual in the house explode and stuff. So like maybe there could be a way of like it's showing us later that stuff did escape, but I feel like they would have told us then probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because even Christina herself hints to Atticus that she doesn't think all this Adam shit is real.
Yeah.
That it's like the language has been translated and reinterpreted by her father or others before them to fit a narrative that is more Christian.
Just like any Bible.
Right. Whereas I'm very convinced that because Samuel says specifically, I don't believe this up to the point that they stop believing, then I don't think he fully like cares or read it all. Yeah. Even the original stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even care. He just loves the power.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, but I think Christina and William do. Yeah. Understand it. I do think that's like what the moments of William watching from the side of the dinner are meant to imply. And he leaves after a certain moment.
Yeah.
Because Atticus says everyone leave, and he's like, yeah,
and he smiles.
I don't need to worry about this. Yeah. And Christina being shown taking out the baby Shoggoth, I'm like, they're being shown to be wiser than Samuel is about this shit.
Yeah.
I am never going to get that snake out of my head. It's going to be lodged in there forever.
Atticus wanted to use what control he had over Samuel to try to demand the return of Montrose, and Samuel said, "No, I don't follow that book. You're just here because I need you.
Yeah, I'm just
using you for a purpose." And he ultimately just lets them walk away from that. So they go back to the village, and they get into the stone tower, and they go down into the basement.
Isn't it full of like dead pigs or something?
Yeah. It's hanging dead pigs and things. And they get down into the basement, and a racist white prison guard lady shows up and is ready to kill him.
First off, it's Montrose isn't there.
Right. But Letty comes and knocks that lady the crap out.
Yes.
And then they start trying to investigate where Montrose would be, which leads George to think of The Count of Monte Cristo.
Yes. And Montrose's
favorite book.
I really love that moment. The idea that we use The Count of Monte Cristo to escape, and we see the tunnel. I love that because it shows that character has a resolve.
Yeah.
That he wasn't just waiting to be rescued.
Yeah. Right.
He took matters into his own hands, and it's like it tells us all we need to know about that character from this moment. That like, I'm out. I'm done.
And because the second we learn about him, we realize like, oh, that dude probably could have handled it. It looks like that dude seems like a tough dude.
Because Montrose on his own emerges from the grass. And they're like, "Hey man, what's up?"
That's so funny. He's just like they're just behind him, like, "Oh, hey Montrose." He's like, "What are you guys doing here? We're here to rescue you. I don't need to be rescued."
Right.
This is the first moment where I realized that if this was any other show, this would have been the end of the episode.
Sure.
Yeah.
There are two major moments in this episode. It's this one and then the one immediately after, where I'm like, I'm surprised that we haven't cut to black credits next episode.
Man,
there's a couple of moments.
HBO, man, like other like FX and stuff too, but like HBO really, like if you get an hour show, you are getting an hour-long show.
Yeah.
It is dense. It is not cookie. It is not fluff. Like every minute is so important, and like every hour feels like every episode is like a movie. Like they put so much care into every episode. It's crazy.
So this is where we learn our most important detail about Montrose, which is that Atticus says, if you didn't need to be rescued, why'd you write me a letter? And he's like, we haven't talked in 5 years. I thought you'd know better than to come for a letter that was clearly written under duress.
God. Mm-hmm.
Which is that we know that Montrose was forced to write the letter because that Atticus is who they really wanted.
Basically calling his son stupid.
Right.
Being mean to his son that he hasn't seen in 5 years. Just over and over after trying to rescue him. Montrose is a character for sure.
He is
not.
He's not a wonderful. He's not a wonderful dude.
No,
but he also had a rough life, and his dad beat him.
Yes, of course.
Being parented poorly doesn't excuse bad parenting.
Yes,
no, it's true.
Yeah,
they try to escape.
Yes, they do. They hop into the silver car, which we now know is British, and you drive on the right.
Yep.
So Christina was driving alone. We know this for sure in the first episode.
Now we do, yeah.
And they're gonna make it out.
Yep,
but they don't.
Oops, cabin in the woods. Oops.
But magic barrier.
They get Chris Hemsworth. Oops.
Yeah, I love the designs of like the swirl things to note the barrier, and then they just disappear.
The spell.
Yeah.
And so Samuel and Christina pull up on them, and Samuel shoots Letty outright.
Just like that, and I'm like, oh, they're not gonna kill her that quickly. I don't believe that.
Yeah. And
well,
then
they technically did.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we knew it wasn't permanent.
Thinking where you think the episode's gonna end, I thought it was gonna end after her getting shot.
I thought when it goes to black after George is shot.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought
that's
credits.
Too.
Yeah. Credits. Here we go.
Yeah, because I'm not watching the time as it's happening. And I'm like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Still got 10 more minutes,
baby. Yes. So then Samuel gives him a choice, and he says, "You get to decide who else pays for your mistake tonight." And he looks at George first.
Mistakes.
Because that's who he's the most concerned about, obviously.
Yep.
And George gets shot.
Bang bang.
Cut to black.
Inside a room.
And then in a room where he is being all goosied up, naked.
Oh yeah, Atticus gets a sponge bath.
But he's allowed to view into the room where Letty and George and Montrose are, and Letty is laying on a couch and suddenly comes back.
She's alive.
And Christina explains that Samuel's a man of his word. If you do what he asks, he'll heal George all the way to full health as well.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy magic.
So Atticus is resolved to do Samuel's dumb ritual shit.
Some crazy Tesla coil ritual.
They give him the ring for the order.
Yes.
Yep. It's cool.
But I like the moment that they talk that he has with Christina. Like, you're like me, they'll never let you into this order, and you resent that.
Right.
He knows that she resents that, and she's like, well, what can we do?
They have more in common than they think.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Christina's a really good, interesting character. I really like when Letty is dying and Atticus is begging Christina to help. I thought that was a really nice moment. Christina explains to Atticus that her father, what he ultimately is chasing, is eternal life, which he believes he'll get in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
That's really his goal.
He's going to expel his earthly wiles and go to the Garden of Eden, and everyone will be immortal there, and everything will be a paradise, and it'll be wonderful. And
is this a Krakoan portal by any chance?
It looked like it.
Yeah, it did.
Letty takes the moment to get herself together in the bathroom, which is a really good emotional beat.
I love that. I love that. She's so good in that moment.
Yeah, she really is. Journey Smollett's killing it. This ultimately leaves George and Montrose to have a moment.
Yeah.
An important moment. A moment where George hints to Montrose that he needs to treat his son better.
Yep.
Because soon he may not be around to do it, and he might not be Montrose's son.
And then Montrose is like,
so Atticus needs whatever he can get.
We said we would not talk about this.
He says, I don't care that you got a bullet in your gut.
Yeah.
We decided what this was.
We agreed that we wouldn't talk about this again. We made an agreement.
Yeah. And George is being very sweet, where he's like, I know, and I wouldn't bring it up, except I'm pretty sure I'm dead.
I'm dying.
Yeah. Which George kind of seems to take. Sorry, Montrose seems to take with a bit of sincerity that, this probably is George's last moments.
Yeah. By the way, I really like that moment together, just in general. I think the two of them have great chemistry. The actors.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael K. Williams is super dope. Yeah.
Did you see him on Community? He was on season 3 of Community.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That dude was in The Road, which is like one of the saddest movies ever made, but he's also in Community. Like that dude's got layers.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah. No.
Boardwalk Empire.
Oh, I didn't watch that, but he is in there.
Steve Buscemi's Boardwalk Empire, not Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Sorry.
Steve Buscemi's self-made Brooklyn. Boardwalk Empire.
So that leaves us with
Ritual.
The ceremony.
This was way more hardcore magic than I expected to see in the show.
Hell yeah.
With a mix of some like Tesla-looking science.
Yeah. Again, like that first episode, like I thought it was going to be central, kind of like Cthulhu cult stuff. But then you see the preview and they got like Tesla coils and stuff. And I'm like, man, this show's I just don't know what this is. I love it. It's great. So much stuff.
It's never... It keeps going bigger with the magic and with the monsters. And it never breaks the reality of the show.
Yeah.
It always is just kind of like, this is what you think this is. This is what it actually is.
Yeah.
And you're going to accept it because it's still the same world. It's still the same realm.
With like, man, with different creators, like they could be more shy about it, or like we don't want to like. I saw one review. It was somebody who saw the first couple episodes. It was like a pre review for like they got screeners. And they're like, sure, is this show too weird for regular people? And I might say yes. If you just put this on, it might be too much for the average viewer. But for genre people, yo, man, I'm eating it up.
Give it to me.
Give it to me.
Megan was specifically talking to someone she knew, I forget who, about like if they could or could not watch the show the other night. And the person said, well, I watched Stranger Things. And it's like, if you watch Stranger Things, you can watch this.
Yeah.
And I'd say that's about the same realm. Like if you can watch Stranger Things, this is not too weird.
Yeah.
It's a step further, but it's not too weird.
That's true. No, you're right. Yeah, Stranger Things does have like, yeah, that's a good point.
At least at this point. But we are only 1 season, 2 episodes in.
Yes, yeah. Season 2 finale just happened. Yes.
Yeah. So we see the Tesla coils and whatever Samuel is chanting ultimately creates a yellow energy happening around Atticus that is opening a portal with the green.
Yeah.
Chanting in the language of Adam.
Yes. But the ring on his finger is creating a black energy that is creeping up his arm. That I think is the part that specifically calls Hannah.
Yeah.
And Hannah...
I thought... Initially, real quickly, I thought that was that like it was going to be the green, let's call it, forming around him and going to like consume him, and that was going to be what that
was. They were like connected, yeah, sure,
yeah. But
those energies seem to be different,
counter,
yeah. And I think the ring, because of the way that it ultimately pulls his arm forward and reveals Hannah on the other side of the portal, and Hannah, I assume, causes the whole mansion to get destroyed and turns Samuel and all of the other lodge members to stone and then dust.
Yes. So I found it interesting that all the other people, they get turned to dust immediately, but Samuel gets turned to stone. Right. And again, I don't know if that means anything.
Right.
Because like different physiologies, again, like I don't know. But I found it very interesting that they focused on him being turned to stone.
So
even though he still gets...
There were other people who were turned into stone also.
Oh, did I just miss it?
Yeah, so there's a couple of people who get turned into stone. If you're running, you turn immediately to dust.
The guy who was moving, who was turned immediately to dust.
Makes sense.
But everyone else was turned to stone, then crumbled into dust.
Gotcha. I mean, it doesn't matter. You get crumbled by the mansion anyway.
Which is, and I thought Samuel was just going to say stone at first. I'm like, well, that's eternal life in a sense.
That's that's what I imagined.
But then it isn't. And Hannah leaves the portal and runs through the house.
Probably the exact same way she did the first time.
Yes, she appears pregnant.
Because you see her around her, and only around her is the flames from the first time the house burnt down.
Yes.
Because what's happening around Atticus is it's just crumbling.
Right.
It's almost like a flashback is happening in front of him.
Yes.
And it's like he's following a flashback to his safety.
But she's aware of him.
Yes.
And
yes, that's what's weird.
Doing this for him in a sense.
Yeah.
And so the entire mansion comes down.
And she dissipates away.
Yes. At the front door.
Yeah, she's not physical. Like it looks like she's physical, and then she manifests away.
Yeah.
So
we don't know entirely what that means.
Yeah.
Or any of that, other than all the lodge members die and the mansion comes down. And I'm again assuming Christina and William were not there.
Yeah.
And they're elsewhere.
I make that same assumption.
Yeah. Seeing what happened.
Yeah.
And Atticus emerges from the house. But in the midst of it crumbling, they had to move George, and George bled out.
Yeah.
And so George ultimately passed away at the car.
So obviously we figure that the house crumbling wasn't going to kill our main characters. So when Letty shows up with the car, and there's just a silent moment between her and Atticus, a beautiful moment just between the two of them of just emotion and no words. And she just kind of shakes her head. I, for a minute, thought that, they both didn't make it. Like Montrose didn't make it either.
Sure.
And then so it kind of kept me guessing, like, okay, well, wait, what's happening? What's going on? What's going to be the reveal? And then it is George.
Out or something, like maybe like Montrose died and like George is still bleeding out. Like it could have been a fake out. Yeah.
I kind of just assumed with the way things would go, I was like, George didn't make it. They made it out, but George didn't make it.
And that could have just been me. That could have just been me.
No. I totally understand how that read can be there.
Oh, yeah.
And everything. But everything in the first episode and second episode kind of paints a picture of
it makes more sense.
George is going to die, and thus he does in a tragic but very beautifully done scene of Montrose holding his brother.
Yeah.
Kind of in shock and sad, and George and Letty both crying. Atticus and Letty both crying.
Yeah. The moment you're talking about, Brandon, like where like she comes to him first, and they have like a silent she silently basically tells him that your dad's dead. Yeah. Like very silently, and like the acknowledgement. I was already, the tears were welling in my eyes already. Yeah. Right. I didn't think I was gonna cry. The second he said, "I'm sorry, Uncle George," I just I was like, please don't look at me, guys. Like I was bawling, you guys. Like I don't know if I've had such an emotional reaction to a character death this quickly in my life. I don't know if I've ever seen a character die in the second episode and me care that hard. Like ever. Like that is some truly beautiful character work and great acting by Courtney B. Vance. I'm really sad he's gone. But man, that worked. That is a death that works for all the characters. It works for me. It makes me real sad.
And again, we talked about it at the beginning of the episode, but like everything that happened up until the finale of just of George dying, that's things you do at the end of a season.
Yeah.
This is the end of episode 2.
Yeah.
Like you meet the big bad, there's a big portal, like the whole place explodes. Yeah.
I was going to say, I was in the same place as you where like tears were welling up and everything. A lot of it, I also give credit. Like it's sad to lose Courtney B. Vance, but it was also just the moment itself was so well done in the pain portrayed by both Journey Smollett and Jonathan Majors, who plays Atticus.
Dude, yeah. Atticus,
did Jonathan Majors like knock that scene out of the park?
That's like a Emmy winning performance right there. That's what you look to, like, oh, that guy's got an Emmy? That's the reason right there. Yeah, I was broken at the end of the episode. Man, that sucked.
Just when he just says, "I'm sorry, Uncle George." That's such a tragic thing. Such a tragic thing to say. God.
And you got Montrose again. Like he's like, that dude's like very stern, very hard, but he's still crying. Like he doesn't want to show the emotions.
I love it. I love it. He's not moving. He's not looking at Atticus. He's not looking at anybody. He's just holding his brother with tears in his eyes and shock. He can't believe it. His brother is gone.
Yeah, man. And then that's how the episode ends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the preview for next episode, life continues, and it's just we're moving on. I'm like,
the preview of the next episode. The preview for the next episode is more racism.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, where's Lovecraft? Where'd he go? Oh no, he's still racist. He's there.
Yeah, I'm blown away by the show continuously.
So I want to talk about the title of the episode is Whitey on the Moon. When the ritual is starting, they are playing the audio from a visual piece called Whitey on the Moon, which you can look up on YouTube, and I recommend it. It's only about 4 minutes 15 seconds, and the whole message of that is about it's great to send a white person to the moon, but how many other people suffer, specifically like black people? How many black people are suffering while we're doing something extraordinary? Like how many, which is meant to be, the illusion of the same thing of like to get Samuel into the Garden of Eden. How many how many black people?
The American dream.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
These American feats, and I thought that audio moment was super interesting.
Yeah,
putting Whitey on the moon there. But I thought that was really cool,
especially like all the old white dudes chanting like Cthulhu shit, like behind it. Like
I never heard or seen that piece before. But, that's a really cool piece. I highly recommend checking it out. I also want to say again, I think the music in this show is fantastic. Both the music scored for the show
and
the use of music that is meant to be occurring in the time at the period,
moving on up to the east side. They're living luxury, baby.
And the music that is modern and non-diegetic to what's happening in the show, like the song when Samuel and Christina approach the broken car, which is super modern but super appropriate.
It doesn't take me out of it at all.
No,
it's all appropriate. Like they worked hard to make sure the music works.
The music design for the show is just really good.
I want a baby Shogoth Funko or a baby Shogoth plushie. Make it happen, HBO.
It's crazy to think how like this episode starts with George and Letty dancing.
Yeah.
To where it ends.
Again, like, man, like 2 episodes, like seasons of a TV show.
Very much an inversion, first frame to last frame of the first episode, because the first frame of the first episode is in war for Atticus, and the second frame is him approaching a mansion with a white man that says "Welcome home." And then this episode is the opening with them dancing in the beginning in the mansion to crying at the car with George
at the destruction of the mansion. Yeah, man. I can't even like pretend to predict where the show was going to go, because I didn't realize it was an anthology-esque type show. Knowing that now, that's wild. I'm very, very curious.
And I'm sure the overarching story of whatever's happening will continue, but in just different formats, essentially.
Oh, of course, yeah. It'll all build up to a wicked finale.
I am excited to see the return of some of the other characters we like from the first episode, like Letty's sister Ruby, Hippolyta. We're gonna see more of them. We'll get more Montrose now.
I'm very curious. I'm very curious if Montrose is still just gonna be just a big old jerk to his son. I'm probably.
But I'm going to tell you right now, I would love it if Jamie Chung is just in only like a scene of every episode. In different like contexts, slowly explaining her involvement.
She's the Ozymandias.
I would love that. I would love if we're just like getting little nuggets really like mixed around of her appearing. I'm excited to learn where she fits into all of this.
I would be very curious, like to your point, Brandon, if she is involved with all of this like Lovecraft stuff as well. Because like the stuff with the Korean War, like as far as we know, like it was war stuff and some other stuff, but like we don't know what that stuff is. And I'm curious if they're going to go into that at all, or that's just going to be stuff that just haunts his past. Very curious.
I can't wait for the next episode.
Hell yeah!
No, neither can I. This is a very, very good show.
HBO continues to do well.
I recommend, once again, if people are watching, do check out the official podcast that they're putting out. It has a whole lot of really good tidbits about how they crafted some of the pieces they did and what they're thinking.
Lovecrafted?
And they also tell you a lot of like, what I like about that podcast is at the end they always recommend pieces that you should check out, like whether they're articles or books or poems or
companion
or
pieces.
Little videos or songs or whatever that will not only like help you have context for what they were writing in this episode, but usually set you up like homework pre-assigned ready for the next episode. So nice. I think that's really useful little companion stuff to this show.
I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, man, another solid episode. I can't wait. I'm glad we're doing this. I love talking about it. I'm glad genre gets to exist like this. Like I talked about last episode, like this is such a wacky show. Like when you really look at it, like it's balls to the wall nuts, and like these things tend to fail. And by all accounts, it's doing extraordinarily well critically, and people are watching it.
One of the things that I got to look at that helps shows like this and others is, the comic book boom of comic book movie boom of 2008, when the MCU started and everything started kicking off, we went to comics, but then we started branching out and looking for other things, other sources to create more genre things. Hey, you like a comic book? What if you tried this? What if you started following different paths to put other genre media onto TV and movies, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
When people aren't afraid to take risks, you get beautiful art like this. That's essentially what it is.
It's certainly a perfect storm of a few things, which is right around that time when the MCU was happening, like as it was happening, nerd culture became popular culture.
Yes.
So everything became more interested in those kind of avenues. It's the fact that a lot of the creators are people who have grown up liking those nerdy things that we grew up liking or just before we were born, and thus have a lot of already that kind of input of ideas they want to put in. And it's also just diversity has thankfully increased a lot,
yes.
which allows for shows like this to exist.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm happy for it.
Yeah, me too.
That's episode 2, baby.
Cool. All right, that'll do it then. So until next week, we'll talk about episode 3. More videos coming to this channel. Hopefully, we got book club.
Yeah, probably before you see this, you'll probably see a new Fake Nerds Watch special for Umbrella Academy season 2. I imagine before we eventually get our 3rd episode of this up.
And hopefully a Fake Nerd book club episode. But we'll see what's going on. People are getting back to work. Sparkz are back at school.
I am never left work.
Left work. So we'll see what happens.
Those 2 weeks were beautiful. Those were beautiful 2 weeks that I will cherish for the rest of my life.
2 weeks.
Did it?
If you're following us, stay tuned for some of that. Be patient. Hey man, schedules, COVID. This is a hellscape of a nightmare. A Lovecraftian nightmare we are living in.
This is us.
Life. All right. So you can also check out our other videos, Basement Arcade. We have the Avengers beta up now. You can do the single player or the multiplayer or both. More Basement Arcade.
Ryan and I are planning a new Basement Arcade series to come up. We have to schedule out time to start it. That'll be probably sometime in September. It'll start up.
And eventually, when quarantine is lifted, Sonic continues.
Yes, eventually when quarantine. Also, whatever. This is Fake Nerds Watch Lovecraft Country, but I'm going to bring it up here. Brandon, they added couch co-op for Untitled Goose Game, and I cannot tell you how much I would love to do couch co-op with you for Basement Arcade.
That game is
Untitled Goose Game.
So that game is now called Untitled Geese Game. That's great.
That's funny. Okay, so you can check out those episodes all on this channel. Make sure to like this video. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. There's a bunch of cool stuff. We got the Fake Nerd Book Club series, which we are going through. Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Volume 2 and 3 eventually. Stick around. Stay tuned. Like Sparkz said, Umbrella Academy special for Fake Nerds Watch coming.
And sometime in September, I'm sure The Boys Season 2 special.
Yeah. Probably at the end, because it's not all coming out at once.
Is it not?
No, it's week by week.
Yeah.
They're doing week by week for this one.
They're releasing 3 episodes at once, and then it's doing it weekly. So if we want to do like a part 1, part 2, maybe, but we'll see.
We'll discuss that then.
Yeah.
I assumed it was going to be like the first season.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
We will discuss what happens there, so stay tuned. Until next time, guys, you can find us all on FakeNerdPodcast.com. You can find all of our links to our TeePublic.
Brandon, what are we doing this week on the Fake Nerd Podcast?
I don't know.
We're talking about Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Oh, right. Sorry. Okay, real quickly.
And probably a New Mutant special if that movie, in fact, plays in theaters.
Please, God, stop doing this to me.
All right, Sparkz, cut out this bit. And so this week on the Fake Nerd Podcast, we're going to be talking about Bill and Ted Face the Music and hopefully New Mutants. We'll see. Although, man, I don't care if we're running long. I don't care. I checked out New Mutants because I wanted to see if it was playing in certain drive-thrus, which nobody knows. But the release date for New Mutants, if you Google it, is September 10th, 2020. So I was like,
another 3 weeks.
Did they push it? Did they just not tell us and they pushed it?
They legally can't push it anymore, or else we'll be mad.
People are buying tickets. in some places.
So we're running on whatever. I saw on somebody on Twitter saying they went to a movie theater, and I'm like, how? What? Guess what? They live in Europe.
Yeah.
Europe's fine. That sucks. Yeah. They've seen Tenet.
I miss going to the movies. Anyway, so you can find us all on FakeNerdPodcast.com. You can find everything coming up. We've been doing the live quarantine casts. Who knows when those will stop? Who knows when this will stop?
Not this year.
But check out our general podcast. It's every Sunday. We do a live stream there. And until then, you can find us on Fake Nerd Podcast on all social medias, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. Sparkz.
You can find me continuing to read all about media literacy for school at Sparkz Whitey on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Whitey.
Brian.
Hey, I'm DJ Tony Snark. I've been playing a lot of the Arkham Knight, and I should have been streaming it, but I'm too far in to start streaming it. Sorry. I might stream something later this week. There's a book that I stopped reading. I'm DJ Tony Snark.
I'll probably pick this up in the interim.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Until next time you see us, who knows when that'll be. Stay fake. Stay fake nerds. Cthulhu Flarga Flargan.
That's Cthulhu talk, you know the Sons of Adam talk.